Well, defining risk in less than 20 words, it's very difficult. I have in mind a report issued by Ernst & Young a few years ago about managing tax risks around multinational companies, and I think that managing tax risk in the current environment is like climbing a mountain. It's always farther than it looks, it's always taller than it looks, and it's always harder than it looks. Which are the main aspects of the risk management which are becoming more challenges. More and more governments in the world are issuing new tax rules and regulations, and not only we have more rules and regulations, but also those rules and regulations is becoming more complex. So the tax environment has become a quite challenging environment. To meet those challenges, we need to manage tax processes more efficiently in order to avoid the sources of risks such as reputational risk, such as the legislative risk linked to the changes in law and changes in the approaches followed by tax authorities in challenging multinational companies on cross-border transactions. The tax audits, which is becoming more and more challenging and more aggressive from tax authorities, and also obviously all the operational tax risks, so all risks related to the, I would say, people, technology and processes in order to manage the report-to-record risk. We can list a lot of weaknesses in the current tax risk management. In recent years, the finance transformation obviously changed the face and the operating environment for many things for which tax is responsible. Using technology to mitigate those risks obviously is the daydreams for many tax leaders. So it's becoming more and more important to build up tools to assist people in managing tax compliance processes, to manage tax audit, and in particular sharing the knowledge across the company in order to obviously be able to better manage all tax processes, because at the end we don't have to reinvent the wind, but we need to manage all the activities we have in place in the more efficient way in order to reduce the risk as much as possible. In addition, more and more companies are now adopting what is referred to as tax control framework, which is obviously a great instrument to manage tax risk, and obviously to improve the trust and the cooperation with the tax authorities in the current environment. And the tax control framework is an internal instrument made up of people, processes and technology that enable obviously the effective management of taxes, and that maybe obviously increase their importance in the years to come. I think in the current oversight framework, it would be very important to enhance the utilization of the advanced pricing agreements and the cooperative compliance processes. This obviously will build up trust in between companies and tax authorities, and obviously will simplify a lot from the company side, the tax planning activities and the improvement of the tax risk management activities. And from the regulatory board side, obviously this will guarantee from a certain point of view the cooperation and the help of the company in obviously managing together tax things and tax compliance processes. Well, I think all companies fear a lot tax audits, especially in the current environment. Companies are experimenting more and more frequent and aggressive tax audits, and transfer pricing starts to be one of the leading sources of tax risk. The environment of tax law and regulation has grown more robust and occasionally aggressive. Tax authorities around the world are both collaborating and sharing more information with one another. They are increasing their focus on especially cross-border transactions, challenging also existing structure due to changes also in their enforcement approach. This obviously can create a lot of issues in terms of double taxation and an increase in the disputes in between tax authorities and multinational companies around the world. I think the main strength of the current risk management tools are the policies and procedures that the multinational companies can put in place in order to manage the tax control framework. Effective policies at the end sit at the heart of a successful tax risk management. A well-defined policy can describe how tax functions and obviously tax managers manage across the entire business all tax matters, setting the right operating model, the right responsibilities, and the right processes and protocols for all the elements which are really important for tax management. In the current environment, the tax function has, I think, a core rule inside the corporate organization in order to be the interface in between the multinational company and the external bodies such as tax authorities, for example, but also the representative of the companies outside, the third parties. So it's important to build up the trust in between the tax organization and the external bodies in order to build up trust and cooperation in between companies and tax authorities.